Judas saith unto him, not Iscariot, Lord, how is it that thou wilt manifest thyself unto us, and not unto the world? Upon hearing this prior word from Christ, one of his disciples asked him a question. He is one of those who have given himself to follow Christ, who has taken a definite interest in his words and had an affection for him. He could not understand why Christ did not reveal these good things, the deep things, unto the multitudes. No doubt he thought if only they could be exposed to the detailed teachings that he exclusively gave to his disciples, if only they knew that he was the Messiah, the Son of God, that surely they would follow him. However, he was deficient in his understanding of the purpose of Christ in the world. Jesus' answer will address his lack of understanding. To the unbelieving person who reads this text, it may seem as if Jesus has not answered his question at all. However, he has in fact gone directly to the heart of the matter. In answering Judas's question, Christ is revealing to us the nature of salvation. This small, seemingly simple sentence actually characterizes the entire focus and nature of the new covenant. As we go through this, I will also be referring frequently to the first epistle of John, as it seems that during the time in between his record of the Gospel of John and his writings of the epistle, he had gained a greater understanding of the implication of Christ's words, which will allow us to have a better understanding exactly what is being said here. There's something to be said about both this gospel and his epistle, in that the truth is being expressed in a very direct manner. This unadulterated truth which cannot be philosophized about, but must simply be believed. John 14:23, Jesus answered and said unto him, If a man love me, he will keep my words, and my Father will love him, and we will come unto him and make our abode with him. Firstly, if a man love me, he will keep my words. Notice that this statement is not an examination of what the person's actions evidence, as it is in verse 21, but it is a statement of action resulting from the condition of the heart. The reason for which Christ was sent into the world was not to remind the people of what they ought to do, but to change their hearts so that they would want to do it. The law makes it especially evident that men do not in their natural condition live in a manner which is pleasing to God, due to the hardness of their hearts. They do not live up to the standard which God set because they have to overcome the wayward desires of their heart. This, however, is not the experience of the believer in Christ Jesus. A person's love for Christ frees him from the burden of the statutes. They are not grievous to him. As stated by the prophet Ezekiel in chapter 36 and verse 27, And I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes, and ye shall keep my judgments and do them. He does not have to be poked and prodded into obedience because he has an affection towards God and has an intense desire to please him. The law said, This do and live, but the law of the Spirit of life in Christ Jesus is, Live, and this you will do. Amen. They are willing in the day of his power. They have a preference for him and his teaching. Yes. Firstly, in his answer, Christ essentially says, I do not manifest myself to the world because they do not love me. It is contrary to the purpose which Christ came into the world to do so. During Christ's earthly ministry, he was well known by the people at the time. His teachings were often public. He offered his teachings to all those who would hear, however, some refused to do so. They heard the words of Christ, but they did not keep them. They did not meditate upon them. They did not consider them to be worthy of extended thought. This is the reason why Christ's words were not understood by the multitudes. They did not want to know their meaning more than anything else. So Christ intentionally hid them by speaking to them in parables. It says in Matthew 13:10 and 11, And the disciples came and said unto him, Why speakest thou unto them in parables? He answered and said unto them, Because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. It was given to the apostles because they diligently followed him and preferred his teaching over lesser things. They kept his sayings in their hearts and in their minds. And secondly, Christ in his answer is saying that they cannot know him because they are hardened against him and incapable of hearing his words. It is this reason that Christ proclaims several times in the gospel, He who has an ear, let him hear. Later on in this chapter of Matthew, we have an example of how one with hearing reacts to Christ's teaching, how one who keeps his word reacts. It says in Matthew 13:34 through 36, All these things spake Jesus unto the multitude in parables. And without a parable spake he not unto them, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet, saying, I will open my mouth in parables, I will utter things which have been kept secret from the foundation of the world. Then Jesus sent the multitude away, and went into the house, and his disciples came unto him, saying, Declare unto us the parable of the tares of the field. They were not content to receive only what the multitude had. They had an intense longing to know the truth which Jesus speaks. And because of this, Jesus rewarded their inquiry with a further revelation.